Hi. Hi everyone, I hope that you can see me and hear me. It was great to have some of you on here last week, so I hope that some of the people who were here last week looking at diaries are back on this week to talk about letters with me. One thing that was really nice last week was people commenting and saying hello, so I think I said before it's such a shame that I can't see you face to face, but if you can comment and say hi, then that would be awesome. I'm filming in a different room this week, so you can see that I'm in my spare bedroom where I keep all of my books, and the reason for that was just to show you, you can see from this how important words are to me and sentences and communication. Particularly at a time like this where we're all kind of trapped in at home, it's really nice to escape into the world of words and other people and other characters and things like that. When first thing to show you is some of the books that I have here are books of letters, so you'll know that we're going to be talking about letters this week. So some of the books I have behind me are books of letters. So this is letters from a grandmother from 1732. Jane Austen selected letters, so some of you will know of Jane Austen. So letters have always been really, really important. And we're going to look at some of the different reasons people write letters. So if you remember last week we talked about the different reasons that people write diaries, and this week we're going to talk about the different ways, the different reasons people write letters. So probably, I would imagine, quite a few of you will have had this letter this week. So this is a letter from the Prime Minister in Downing Street telling us what to do during the COVID outbreak, and how to keep safe and how to wash our hands and things like that. So that's pretty unusual for us all to get letters from the Prime Minister. That's not very common at all, so I'm going to be keeping this one. What's more common is to get letters like this. So this is a letter that I had from my dad. I've got letters from my mum as well, from when I was at university, things like that. Just giving me local news, letting me know what's happening at home, keeping me up to date, keeping my spirits up from when I was feeling a wee bit homesick, things like that. We also get lots of postcards when people go on holiday. I'm really, really lucky, I think I said this last week with the diaries, I'm lucky because I have a huge collection of family letters, and I've been very lucky in my life to gather a lot of these. So for instance, this is some, there we go, is that right? I'm being told I'm sideways, so I am now the right way up. Yeah, these are some letters from my grandparents. I have a big collection of these, loads and loads and loads of letters from my granny and my granddad writing love letters to each other during the Second World War. And these, if you can believe this, are just from July 1945. The rest of them, I've got loads and loads from other dates, but these are just 1 month in 1945 when they were writing love letters to each other when they were in India. So that's pretty unusual for people to have that number of letters. So I think I said to you last week, one of the problems is that I can't, when I'm doing this, is that I can't show you things from our collections because I don't have them with me, and I'm not allowed to take them out the building because they've got to stay safe. But what I can do is tell you about some of the things that we have in our collections. And the same as last week, what I'm going to do is look at different ones from each of our 4 offices in Inverness, in Skye, in Wick and in Fort William, so that you've got some examples from each of them. And then all of those will be available again on our website for you to have a look at and to do some activities. So the first one I'm going to tell you about, sorry, I'm moving my camera about. The first one I'm going to tell you about is from our Skye office. There's 3 different examples up on our website from our Skye collections, and these are all examples of people writing to businesses. So obviously now, when we contact a business, you'll know usually we can email them, or we can phone them, or we can send them an instant message on Facebook, Twitter, something like that, to contact a business to ask for something or to find out about their services. But in our business collections, we have a lot of business collections in the Highland Archive Service. And these 3 that we've got up on our website from Skye are all from business collections. One is from Flora MacLeod of MacLeod, and she's writing to the West Highland salmon fisheries asking for fish to be sent to Dunvegan Castle. There's also 2 letters in there from written to Kyle Pharmacy, one is looking for medicine for a dog, and one is asking about having photos developed. So previously, before we had telephones and before we had instant messenger and Facebook and all of these things, the most common way for people to contact a business was to write them a letter and ask for what they wanted, ask for it to be delivered to their house. And so that's some examples of those, just to get you thinking about how we used to communicate in a way that's different from how we communicate now. So that's the ones we've got up from Skye for you to have a look at. We've got some up from Nucleus, our archive centre in Caithness, and these are pretty awesome. They're pretty exciting letters. So there are 3 letters up from the same family. One is from the 1840s, and it's written all of them are written by the family of the Davidsons, who came from West Wotton in Caithness. The first one was written in the 1840s, and it was written by John Henry Davidson. So he was the son of a minister. The family were all farmers as well, as I say, from West Wotton in Caithness. And he left Caithness to go and work on the Isle of Man as a customs official. And the letter that we have up relating to him is very, very bizarre, because he went to work, as I say, in the Isle of Man as a customs official, and the letter we've got here is from somebody bribing him, so trying to pay him to leave his job so that that person could get it instead. It's like a blackmail letter. It's an anonymous letter, and it basically says, you want to really seriously think about quitting your job so that I can take it. So apparently he didn't give in. That's what we've heard. But that's one of the letters that's up there. The other one is written by his son, and it's written during the First World War. So his son James was in command of the Seaforth, a section of the Seaforth Highlanders in the First World War, and he wrote letters, at least one letter every day to his wife. So he wrote numerous letters to his wife, over 300 that we have in the collections in Caithness. And the letter that's up there is one of his letters to his wife, talking about life in the trenches, what life's like in the First World War, what he's going through, what he's experiencing, things like that. So that one's up there. His wife was called Margaret. And the third letter that we have from Caithness is also from that family. It is from it's from James and his wife Margaret and their children, and it's written to them because they, as I said, were farmers, so they'd always had loads of animals. But this letter is written from when they lived in Edinburgh, and it's talking about their family, the family pet monkey escaping. So normally before then, obviously they had things like cows and sheep on the farm, but then they had a pet monkey and it escaped, and that's a great letter for you to have a look at. So that's Skye and Caithness. We've also got some examples up from Fort William and from Inverness. So the one we've got up to show you from Fort William is another mad letter. It's written in 1911, and it was written in the Chief Constable's letter book, so it's written by a policeman. And he's talking about what happened on the day in 1911 when someone drove a Ford motor car up to the top of Ben Nevis. So if any of you are watching in Fort William, you can look out your window. Mind you, you can never see the Ben, so you can try looking out your window and seeing it, and seeing if you think what it would look like to see a motor car driven up to the top of Ben Nevis. So that letter describes what happened on that day as the car drove up Ben Nevis. It describes the pipe band watching in the street and playing in the street. There was pipes and drums and a huge crowd of people. So that letter describes that event 109 years ago. The other one that we've got up from Inverness this time, the last ones, I know there's a lot of letters gone up this week, so there's a lot of documents for you to have a look at, but they're all different types. So the ones we've got up from Inverness are One of them is my absolute favourite if you watch me a few times over the next few weeks, I might say quite a few things are my favourite document. But this is one of my favourite documents, written by one of my favourite people. One of the problems you have when you work in archives is that you become very, very fond of people who died 200 years ago, and you think that they're your best friends, when in fact you never even met them. So one of the letters we've got up to show you is written by someone who's one of my favourite people in our collections. And his name is William Fraser Tytler. And the letter is written in 1832, so it's nearly 200 years old. And it's written to his wife. So he was the sheriff, he was a lawyer, and his letter is written from Alvey Church down near Aviemore. And he was there running a court, and he's describing the scene in it. He's writing to his wife, and he's describing what the room looks like and what all the people look like. So he says there's a very thin and skinny little old woman in the room, and so he describes her. He says she'll never stop moving, she's always walking about. And then he describes a big round man wearing a lot of tartan, so he's described there, and spoiled children lying on the floor causing a scene. And it's a really descriptive letter. It's really full of information, and I'll come back to that at the end of this. And then the last thing we've got to show you are some postcards. Postcards were very common. Obviously people still send them, but mostly now they send them when they've been on holiday. But previously they would be sent just regularly, just to drop a note by to say hello. I have here some to show you from my family collections. This is just a few of them. And I have absolutely hundreds and hundreds of different postcards from my family. And the ones we've got up to show you on our website are from the collections in Inverness. Some of them are picture postcards, and some of them are silk embroidered postcards, which were very common during the First World War, to send home with messages of encouragement that we would come through this. So those are there for you to have a look at as well. One of the things I want you to think about as you come off this chat is, again, as we did last week with diaries, the different reasons that people write letters. So I said to you I had some, from my mum and dad when I was at university. Those helped me know that I was still in people's thoughts. I was still loved and appreciated. I've got ones from my sister just saying, this is the news in the town, this is what's happening. Some of them can help you get through a bad time. So some of the ones, that I was talking about there from the First World War, the man who was writing to his wife every day just to say, I'm still alive, I'm still okay, we'll get through this. And he did get through it. He came back and carried on his life with his family after the First World War. So sometimes it's to give people encouragement. Sometimes letters are written. I have my letter accepting me into university, where you'll be amazed to hear I went and studied words and how words are put together. But yeah, I have my letter that tells me that I had got into university because it was a really important moment for me and an important time in my life. So again, some of the letters that we have in our collections mark serious occasions for people, saying that they're getting married, or saying that somebody's passed away, or something like that. They're marking an important occasion. Some of them are businesses. They have, as I said, the ones in Skye are showing how a business has evolved, how people have contacted a local business to find something out. So there's all sorts of reasons that people write letters, and that's something for you to have a think about as you come off this call. It's not a phone call, but you know what I mean. It's a chat. As we did last week, there's a load of activities on the website for you to have a think about doing. And as I will always do, some need to be downloaded and printed, some don't. So if you don't have access to a printer, don't worry about it. There will be things for you to do on there as well. So some different thoughts for you. You could try writing a reply to one of the letters. I would be very interested to hear if you wrote back about the monkey being found, what your response would be to that. You could draw the picture. So William describes in his letter a very, very clear description of what everybody looked like in the room that he was in. I would love it if one of you or more of you would draw that picture and send me a copy of it. Remember, you can put, if you put hashtag HLH Learn with Lorna on Twitter, on Facebook, email it to us. I would love to see if any of you do that. The other thing is you could do what William did and write a letter describing what you can see. Describe what your mum looks like, or what you're wearing today, or what the sitting room looks like. It's a really good way to learn a load of new adjectives. I love an adjective, so see if you can try and write the letter without including the same adjective more than once. One of the letters you'll see up there, I haven't talked about it much because it's really just for you to have a look at, is what's called a crossed letter, where someone's run out of space. They've written all their letter that way as normal, and then they've written over the top in the other direction. Have a go at doing one of those. Your eyes do get used to seeing them. They're quite difficult to read at first, but you do get used to it. And of course they were done because paper was expensive and sending a letter was expensive, and so people would write as much as they could into as small a space as possible. So that would be quite a fun activity if you want to do that. Ailey, who's our archive assistant down in Fort William, spent the last couple of days, as some of you will have seen if you follow our Facebook pages, working out how to dye normal paper to look like archive paper, and how to make seals and how to make what looks like parchment and old documents. So there's a guide up on the website today as well of how to do that, how to make documents look old, write an old letter on them, and make an old wax seal for them. So definitely have a go at that. But one of the biggest things I would really, really like to encourage you to do at the end of this is to think about writing a letter or a postcard to someone either in your family or in your local area who might be feeling a bit low or a bit lonely at the moment. Because as I said to you, personally, those letters from my mum and my dad and my sister got me through when I was a bit lonely at university. Now that was a totally different time because obviously I could drop everything and come home if I wanted to. And the situation that we're in at the moment all around the world is that people are feeling a bit lonely, or they're feeling a bit isolated or a bit sad or a bit scared, and they can't drop everything and go and see their family straight away. So I would really like to encourage you to write a letter to either someone down the road from you, someone in the community, your granny, anybody at all that you can think of. Just write a quick note just to say that you're thinking of them, to get them through. And one of the things this could do is this could tie into next week's theme. So if you're coming back to join me next week, we're going to look about how you find out about your local area. How do you learn about what the industries used to be like, what the landscape used to be like, things like that. So I would encourage you, if you start writing to somebody in your community who maybe somebody you don't know very well, why don't you ask them about that? Ask them if they've lived here a long time. Ask them what's their favourite thing about living in the Highlands. Did they go to school here? What did they do at school? And I've put up on the website some ideas for that as well, some thoughts for things you could write to people about, some questions you could ask. Ask people what they're doing to get through this very odd time and what they're looking forward to about when the world goes back to normal. There's some ideas up there for you to do that, and as I say, that will tie into next week's theme of local area and learning about your local area. If you do any of these things, like I say, please do tag us in it, let us see it, drop me an email. Our email addresses are on the website, or if you want to comment on here, we can get your contact details as well. So please do some of those activities and let us know. Please join me again next week. We're going to look at local area, as I say, and continue to take care of yourselves. Really, that's the main thing as well. Continue to look after yourselves, look after each other, and do try and use what we've learned about letters in the past to try and give people some encouragement and some friendship in the times that we're in at the moment. That would be pretty awesome. Okay, I'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye.